What's going on, guys, and welcome back to #AskGSM. Here today, episode 313 for Wednesday, November 27, 2019, the eve of Thanksgiving. Graham GSM Matthews here. Hope you guys are doing well, but we are recording this on Tuesday. And when I say we, I mean for the first time in a while, Alexis will be joining us. So, Alexis, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. I can't. When was the last time I was on here?
I think it really has been close to a year. I don't think I've had anyone else on this show, period, in at least 2019, as far as I know.
I don't know if I believe you.
I'd have to go back in the archives. Someone else can check that out for me. I really don't think we've had any guests here on hashtag. You've been on Wrestle Rant Radio a bunch this year. You're going to be on this week as well. Cheap plug. Check it out on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, Podbean. We're reviewing TakeOver and Survivor Series from Sunday. So you're going to be on that show on Thursday. You've been on that show a bunch this year. I don't think you've been on hashtag since you were on the first time about a year ago.
No,
I think you were on once and twice.
I was on like 3 times, including this one.
I don't think so. We'll have to go back and check it out. There might have been a time earlier on this year, but as far as I know, I don't think so.
RJ, look it up.
RJ, check the archives. But nonetheless, we are here today answering all the questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If people want to send in a question, they can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So real quickly, though, when I put up the post on Facebook and Twitter yesterday to gather all the questions for this, I noted earlier on around maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon, like Monday afternoon, saying, hey, listen, I'm recording the show Tuesday morning this week as opposed to Wednesday, which is rare because we won't be around tomorrow. I was going to be over here anyway, so I figured we might as well record it on Tuesday. So I'm thinking because it's such late notice that I won't get many questions at all. Like, we'll get very few. With the power of hashtag AskAlexis, we got nearly 3 full pages worth of questions.
Oh my god, really?
I think more than any other episode in recent memory.
Is that because I'm on?
Probably. There were a lot of questions for you
guys,
and us together. A lot of these questions we are going to have to go quickly through because we still have to record Wrestle Rant Radio and the clock is going on in the background, so please excuse that. We're going to have a lot of extraneous noises here on the show today.
Yes, we're recording this at my house, and I have like 9 animals. So we have cows in the backyard. We have dogs walking around. I tried to block off the room as well as I could. So if you hear any extra noises, sorry about that in advance.
If you hear any barking, that's what it is. We're not holding any puppers. We're not holding any puppers or animals hostage here on the show.
Yeah, the cows are fine too. They're fine.
They're fine. But nonetheless, so we'll get started here. We don't have too much time because, like I said, we got to record other stuff before we take off later to go watch Frozen 2.
Yeah,
we saw the first Frozen last night. Well, I did for the first time.
Yeah, he did for the first time. He hasn't watched it before, so everyone can give him shit for that. Although I don't think anyone else really listening to this has watched the movie that much or excitedly that much. I don't know. But yeah, I watched it probably for the first time in a while. I haven't seen it in a long time.
In what context, though, would I have seen the movie, and with who? There's no one that would have seen the movie. It came out 6 years ago. Maybe my younger sister, but aside from that...
but she was like a baby.
Yeah, and she watched it. I said I saw the first half of the movie when she was a kid, a couple months after it came out. I remember her watching it on DVD, like on loop when I was watching her one day, and I saw the first half of the movie. I remember that much. But no, other than that, I have no idea when I would have watched it. So.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's one thing for you to not watch Frozen, but it makes more sense for you to not watch it, but I didn't see Lion King until last year, so... That's
a bit more egregious, but that's besides the
whatever
point.
That means, yeah.
But I did see the Frozen live show at Hollywood Studios. They have a Frozen... Yeah, they did. They have one...
Oh, yes. No, I think I've seen that too, where they're all on stage, they're all singing and stuff. No, I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that, but not the actual movie until yesterday.
You know where... They used to do, you know what they used to do over there? They used to do the American Idol show where they'd have people go on stage and sing.
That's outdated now.
Well, yeah, they don't do it anymore. They do the Frozen live show, but it's probably something else now. Nuh-uh.
No, the Frozen thing is probably still there. It was relatively new when I went 2 years ago. Frozen 2 just came out, so I'd be surprised if it wasn't there.
They have a ride now in Epcot in Norway.
What? That's been there, though.
No, that's new, too.
They want as much Frozen shit as possible in Disney World.
I will tell you the live show's older. The live show was there first because that was easier for them to implement, and then they put the ride in. So they had the show there while they were waiting to put the ride in. Not that this matters.
Let's debunk this on the show right now. This is a question that we have for ourselves to kick off the show. Frozen ride, Hollywood Studios. This is why you always have a laptop in front of you. Frozen Ever After.
Sing-along.
Log Flume. Or the sing-along.
No.
Frozen Sing-Along Celebration.
That's Hollywood Studios. That's not Epcot.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. The Log Flume is
yeah, that's Epcot. And it is every day, Tuesday, November 26, 2019. That would be today. So it is still open. I'm telling you, I don't think they would have gotten rid of it.
I didn't know if we were I thought we were talking about which is older.
No, I said the fact that this is still open. I'm not denying that one's older. I'm just saying that.
Well, I mean, this one was definitely older. It was
that's what I mean.
That one was there because it was way easier for them to put that in.
to do a live show as opposed to an actual ride.
Yeah, so while they were waiting to put the ride in, they did this one first.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, let's get started here with the wrestling questions.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with wrestling.
Elena the Y from YouTube, their first question was, all right, Survivor Series is finally done, and even Raw is moving on with some interesting storylines again. In all honesty, Survivor Series was fine. I've said enough about the build. The show was what it was. WWE will probably do it again for a 5th year in a row next year. It's fine, just fine. So how did you feel about Survivor Series 2019? So this is one of those questions, and we got a bunch of them. Our thoughts on the show, and I don't want to give it away here because, again, we're going to be reviewing it in a bit, in a nutshell, on Wrestle Rant Radio. So, again, go check that out for your full rundown of the pay-per-view. We'll do that momentarily, and TakeOver, too. But that being said, in a nutshell, what were your thoughts on Survivor Series? Do you give it an up or do you give it a down?
Well, Simon Miller, I actually really enjoyed the show. I liked it a lot because it was better than anything I've seen this year, but the problem is it's good, but it's also not good in a way because the only reason why it was good for me is because of the NXT people.
Okay.
So if you take all that away, it's not interesting. Like, I don't care. The only reason why I had that, like, that's why all the other shows they were doing the past few weeks were actually good because the
they
NXT
felt
people
fresh.
because the NXT people would come in. And it just feels real because they seem like actual fighters. They seem like actual professionals. And then these fucking dorks from Raw and SmackDown with, like, all this makeup on, all these colorful things, and, like, little kid shirts and stuff, and, like, toys. It's overproduced. I was saying that to you the other day. It's like, it just seems like a bunch of action figures fighting. And it just seems fake. Mm-hmm. But when I watch NXT in there, it's like, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was something we haven't seen before prior to Sunday, so.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the women's stuff, mostly because, again, of NXT, because the women on Raw and SmackDown I could give absolutely no shits about. I don't care.
Not even 2 shits?
No,
one
just
shit.
one. Not even one.
Wow.
Maybe -1.
That says a lot.
I like some of the women on there. Like, I really like Lacey Evans. I like, see, that's the problem. I can't come up with that many.
Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Sasha.
I don't care about Becky. Bayley,
Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Sasha.
But okay, again, those are the only 4 that they even care about. So, and not to mention, they're kind of stale at this point because they won't stop like circling around those 4 women. Like, why don't you pick someone else? You know, why don't you make someone else look better instead of constantly using these 4 women as like the main characters and then all the side characters suck? Like, that's not fair. You know, like Natalya actually sucks. She's terrible, but like. If you take someone like Nikki Cross, for example, who's not that bad, and she's really cool, she's really cute, she has a nice personality. If they built her up like that, it would be different. It would be fresh, and it would make the show a little better. But instead, they keep circling around the same people, like they did in the pay-per-view, except for the NXT people. Mm. So, I thought it was good.
No, I enjoyed the show. I thought it was a pretty good show. Again, we'll break it out more in depth. We'll break it down more in depth on Wrestle Rant Radio, so stay tuned for that. Their second question was, NXT TakeOver War Games made me reflect on myself as a fan because I don't want to call it, quote-unquote, underwhelming, as it absolutely wasn't. It's just hard to expect the best TakeOver ever every time when we've already had 26 good to great ones, and the latest one got mixed up in Survivor Series antics. Like I was expecting Riddle and Balor to be absolutely a barn-burning wrestling classic, and it was just a really good wrestling match, and that's on me. It's one of those, it was one of 4 matches with half of them being War Games matches, so what if it fell behind a fast-paced triple threat for third best match of the night? That's 4 matches that would have been match of the night in any other pay-per-view. We're spoiled, aren't we? Yeah, I mean, every TakeOver has been good to great to amazing. So just because, I mean, this was a great show. I thought TakeOver was a really fun show on Thursday, or Saturday, rather. But we've also already had 4 other takeovers this year. I don't want to say this one was the weakest one. I would have to really go back and examine that. But the ones that we were at were better than the one that we saw on Saturday. I thought Takeover 25 was better, and Takeover New York was absolutely better because that was the best takeover they've ever done. Mm-hmm. But that's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have Riddle and Balor, probably the weakest match on the show. What was it? No, the triple threat match was easily the weakest match on the show. But even that would be, again, a match of the night on any other pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. So with NXT, I think that's a good problem to have, where not every match, or where every match is great and every takeover is great, where it's hard to determine which one's better, which one's the best takeover ever, because they're all awesome. So it's hardly worth anything complaining about.
I mean, I know for me, like, when we went to New York, and you loved that takeover, and you know, I was so tired, because when we went to, like, WrestleMania weekend, we got, like, no sleep. We went to bed at, like, 3 or 4 a.m. every night, or morning, I guess, and that day, I was, like, so dead from, what did we do? We did WrestleCon that day?
Saturday? Or
Yeah.
Takeover? No, Takeover was on Friday. That day we woke up early to go to meet Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah. And it was
then
really
we went to
cold.
Access that day.
It was really cold out. It was a very long day. Like, our feet were killing us. And for me, like, I don't know, like, having multiple big things happen in one day is a lot. So, like, I was so tired, and I was, like, falling asleep during the whole show. So, honestly, if I rewatched it, I would, like, watch it like a new show. So, I thought this one was, like, one of the best shows I've seen from them, mostly because I actually sat down, I put my phone away, I put all my stuff away, and I just sat down and watched it, because, again, I'm not someone that's, like, big on watching wrestling. Like, I'm really big on, like, the storylines and stuff, and, oh, what are they wearing? Like, one of those, like, I'm a girl, you know? But I thought it was fantastic, and it is a good problem to have, like, so many good matches that one of the good matches on there is considered the weakest one, even though it was really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's why some people just watch NXT instead of watching all three like you and I do. And they're perfectly fine with that. And especially because it's on TV now, it's a lot easier to watch. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know. And they're starting to become, like, the stronger show out of all of them. Not in terms of viewers or anything, but in terms of, like, what they have going for them. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if, like, Vince is probably shaking in his boots or something, because he definitely didn't plan for that to happen.
I mean, they had NXT win at Survivor Series, so I hardly think he cares. But I know what you're saying.
I know, but I'm saying, like, in the beginning, like, when the show first was there, like, I don't think he really planned for it to be this big, like, bigger than anything anyone would ever imagine.
No, yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, you mean? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think the show's better than it's ever was expected to be, and it's only gotten better, too. Yeah. There's been a few dull points in the years that I've been watching NXT, when they had Nakamura there and Samoa Joe, and then it was like, that was it. They really had no other stars at that point. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing about NXT is that, I mean, a lot of their talent is from other promotions, and there's going to reach a point where you can only pluck away so many people from other places before you run out of people to pick from. Mm-hmm. That being said, they're also doing a decent job of building up their own talent, too. Velveteen Dream is a completely NXT organically built superstar. I mean, he did some stuff on the independent scene, but he was on that Tough Enough show. Yeah. Went away for, I think he maybe got signed immediately. But he's been with his company for about 4 or 5 years now, and he is totally a product of the system. No pun intended to Undisputed Era, but the developmental performance center system. Mm-hmm. So they are creating their own stars at the same time, taking people that many people didn't really know all too well from the independent scene, a guy like a Keith Lee, who had some buzz when he first came in. They have now made him a bigger star after Survivor Series weekend than he ever would have been anywhere else aside from WWE, in my opinion. So I think it's a good problem to have with NXT, and every time they pluck away people to put on the main roster, they always replenish the pot and make it the best thing going. Like when earlier this year, that really should have been the death of NXT, when they got rid of a lot of people they had, including Nikki Cross, Lacey Evans, Heavy Machinery, EC3, Ricochet, Aleister Black, all left within the same 2-month time period.
And Lars Sullivan.
And they kind of filled that void within weeks. Not even. Maybe within like a week or so.
Well, that just goes to show you, if you have the right person in charge, they can
they can make a star pretty much out of anybody. Yeah. So it's been cool to see.
Which, that's what I was talking about earlier with the women. You could do that to most people. I mean, Nia Jax and Natalya are lost causes, and maybe, Dana Brooke and all them.
Half the roster.
a lot of them are not good. And hey, maybe they're signed just because they're women. Just to say, hey, we have X amount of women on the thing. I don't know. Maybe that could be part of it. But I think they need to focus on them way more.
Their third question here, Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin on AEW Dynamite highlights how much smaller modern AEW guys seem to be against the ex-WWE guys, and yet it never felt like a mismatch either. The thing about Moxley-Allin from last week is that Allin actually fights with quickness and urgency and innovation and ingenuity, where the average small versus big dynamic would have just stopped at he's quicker. Moxley legitimately feels challenged, and the action has to escalate because, he realizes he's going full John Cena, and doing a paradigm shift off the ropes is the only way to finish the little guy off. Like, I honestly can't just get over how well that match just worked. Was that the best Moxley match and the best Allin match in AEW? So you didn't see the match. You didn't watch Dynamite last week.
But I have seen them fight together.
So I was going to say, you didn't see that match, but our first exposure to Darby Allin, I'm not sure if he was a double or nothing, but we saw him face Jon Moxley at a Northeast Wrestling show in June.
He wasn't a double or nothing, because I remember when we found out that he was in AEW, it was after that, because I knew who he was.
He might have been in the Battle Royal or something like that.
Yeah, but
I don't know. In a standout showing, we don't really remember him from that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But the first exposure that we really had to him was in that match, at that show, Northeast Wrestling, Waterbury, Connecticut, June 14th, 2016, or 2019, excuse me. And the match was one of the best matches I've seen live all year. And we've been to WrestleMania. We were at Takeovers. We were at, all these other pay-per-views, G1 Supercard, Double or Nothing, AEW Dynamite. That was one of the best matches I've seen in person all year.
Wow, that's high praise.
Jon Moxley, Darby Allin was a fucking barn burner, and it was Moxley's first match back on the independent scene, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was awesome.
So the match they had last week wasn't no DQ like the one that we saw was, but it was very similar in the dynamic and the chemistry they had. Darby Allin, Jon Moxley went over, which means that he won.
Yeah.
Darby Allin got over because
okay.
of, the performance that he put in and being the smaller guy. He doesn't always have to win. The Cody match that he had at Fyter Fest, I remember being very, very good, where they went to the 20-minute draw, and that was right before Shawn Spears came out and knocked Cody for a loop with the chair to the skull. But the match itself was great. Darby Allin had a really good match with Jericho on Dynamite about a month ago. So I don't know if this was the best one he's had, but it's probably his best. Moxley, I like the Omega match. I was in the camp that really enjoyed the Full Gear match. This one I think got more praise from people because it wasn't as extreme as the Omega match. So either way, these guys have great chemistry, and I can't wait to see them do it again. But yeah, this was good stuff. So you can't, any other thoughts?
I honestly have nothing really to say. I mean, I love Darby Allin. I will never stop talking about when he got, because they did that on AEW TV when he got handcuffed and he was, doing flips and stuff.
Yeah.
But he did that, I don't know if this was the first time he did it, but he did it at that, was it Northeast Wrestling show that we went to? He did the same exact thing with Moxley, and it was so cool. It was awesome, and their dynamic is, absolutely amazing. It's, some different matchup that you'd never expect. And again, it's one of those things where I actually pay attention and I can appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. FD from Facebook, their first question was, the WWE should be praised for making NXT look strong during last Sunday's Survivor Series. One slight problem, though. It seems like they haven't let their hump go with them not having NXT standing on top at Survivor Series, as Survivor Series fades to black, in order to put the cherry on top with their overall dominance. My question here is, do you feel that WWE's main roster, booking crew, still feels stubborn not to pave way for the NXT roster to shine throughout their pay-per-views and build NXT as a legitimate third brand from start to finish, and if so, why? So I'm not exactly sure what this question is asking, aside from maybe what are your thoughts on WWE maybe not doing enough to make NXT look as great as it is, and I absolutely have to disagree, because throughout the entire build to Survivor Series, they made several superstars look very, very good. The Undisputed Era, Adam Cole beat Daniel Bryan on that first SmackDown in the Survivor Series season build about a month ago. Great match, went over clean. Tommaso Ciampa that same night beat The Miz. Undisputed Era, all four of them beat New Day and Heavy Machinery last week on SmackDown. Rhea Ripley beat Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks clean in that triple threat match last week. So again, I feel like they did not only their just due, but even more than I expected in putting Survivor Series over strong. They won 4 to SmackDown's 2 to Raw's 1 at the pay-per-view. Raw got 1 win on Sunday. Survivor Series, or NXT got 4 at Survivor Series. So this notion that they didn't do enough to put NXT over is mind-boggling to me, because I think for as much shit as you can give this company about a lot of different shit, I think they did a tremendous job of making them look as good as possible. Guys like Matt Riddle beat Randy Orton on Sunday. Adam Cole had an amazing match at the pay-per-view and beat Daniel Bryan, looked really, really good the last couple weeks in the main roster. Rhea Ripley got over as a major star. Keith Lee got a huge reaction on Sunday. He didn't win, but again, Roman Reigns went over. Keith Lee got over. I saw Bully Ray tweet that. I could not agree more. I thought that was amazing. Several others as well. I think they did a great job of making NXT look as great as it possibly could with the Build the Survivor Series.
I mean, I can totally see where this guy's coming from, though, because they ended it with Becky beating Shayna.
If that's what he's talking about, that's really just nitpicking. I thought that was dumb too, but who cares?
I think he's talking about that because he's thinking that they're gonna say, like, okay, even though NXT won, like, Raw's still better, but I think they did that because they want to show, hey, Becky didn't, like, Shayna didn't get the last laugh. There's really no last laugh yet. Like, Becky and Shayna will face off again. Or they just want to make Becky look good because they fucking love her. But, I mean, I said this to you the other day when the show was going on, but, like, I can totally picture Vince and Triple H sitting down and Triple H saying, okay, here's what I need to happen, and you can do this. Like, or I don't know how to word this, but for all we know, like, Vince could have had nothing to do with this, or he could have said something and then something else could have happened. Like, to me, it all ends with what Vince says, and if Vince chooses to do that, then he believes in NXT wholeheartedly. I mean, he obviously sees why it's so good, but at the same time, like, he very well could have just said, I don't give a shit, or I don't care, or maybe he doesn't like it, or maybe Triple H got more of the say this time. But, I mean, they did look really good during the entire show. Mm-hmm. My dogs are staring at me.
She's watching viciously from
She's
afar.
She's like gasping. Hi!
She's on Pharaoh duty right now.
We don't know what happened behind the scenes because as far as I know, I think Vince still thinks that, like, Raw and SmackDown are the better brands, and he's way funnier. He thinks the whole show is way better. There's a lot more a lot better wrestling there, however you want to word it. But I mean, they got their say on Sunday, so let's just see what happens in terms of, like, how they look going forward, or if they do this again and the same thing happens, or they look just as good as they did last time, because or if, like, Keith Lee comes to, like, Raw or SmackDown, let's see what happens, because it kind of made me nervous that I heard that Vince likes him, or that
I agree.
He was made to look really good, because what's gonna happen when he goes to Raw and he's, like, fucking smacking his ass or something on the show? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't trust that.
And Lana leaves Bobby Lashley for Keith Lee instead.
Yeah, exactly, because she likes that BBC.
Oh, God. This is a PG podcast.
Is it really?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
I've dropped so many F-bombs in this thing, it's not even funny.
So we'll see what happens when any of those things, happen.
His next question here, thoughts on the recent and shocking firing of the Women of Honor champion Kelly Klein from Ring of Honor. Do you feel this recent incident has put a terrible dent towards the entire future of Ring of Honor moving forward, and why?
Ooh,
yeah, this was some bullshit.
Yeah.
This was some bullshit. I mean, obviously, there's a whole story to go along with this. There's a lot more I can say about this, but to keep it short, sweet, and concise so we can move along here, it is some bullshit. Even before all of this broke out, they were not doing enough with their women anyway. They had a great women's division about a year and a half ago. Maybe not the best in the world, but when they first brought in the Women of Honor Championship about a year and a half ago, right before you started watching with me, they had Kelly Klein, that woman Sumi Sakai, who was the champion when Kelly Klein beat her for the belt that pay-per-view that we went to, Final Battle. Mm-hmm. They had Madison Rayne there. Tenille Dashwood, a.k.a. Emma, from WWE. She was there.
Who's there?
Who else did they have? They had a lot of different women, and your jealousy for Emma is very well documented.
No, it's not jealous. I just don't like her.
Sure.
RJ
You've never
seen
her wrestle a single match in your life.
I've heard her talk. She sucks. RJ gets it.
She was there. Tenille, Madison, Deanna Purrazzo was there, who's now in WWE. Mm-hmm. Karen Q, who's now in WWE.
That? Who are those people?
She's not in NXT, not on TV yet.
Oh, okay.
They're working like live events. They'll be on TV at some point. But anyway, they had a really strong women's division, and they just fell off the face of the fucking earth. And they really just have Kelly Klein now and the Allure, who are fucking terrible.
They're terrible.
The Allure is awful.
When we saw them at
the G1 Supercard
yeah,
show?
I was like, this has to be a joke. Like, this has to be a one-off thing. Like when Enzo and
Cass came
out, I was like, this is not real. And then they, like, the next time I watched the show, they were on, and like, this is
and she won the title
stupid.
too.
Yeah, and they walk out. It's like the beauty, the brains, the bombshell. I'm like, this is fucking dumb. This is so dumb. We cannot get any dumber than this.
But as far as the incident itself goes, the women's division sucked anyway. But now that Kelly Klein she wasn't in their words fired because they're just letting her contract run out. Essentially, she was fired because she's not being brought back when her contract
She's being
expires.
forced out.
Yeah, exactly. Come January 1st, when her contract expires, she's gone. And it's not like she can wrestle in the remainder of the year because she's still dealing with post-concussion symptoms and stuff like that. So she won't be back. She's still the champion as of right now. The whole thing is just a fucking messy situation.
Kelly's still the champion?
She's still the champion as of right now.
So she won it back from her?
She won it back from her no more than 2 weeks after she lost it to Angelina Love at the Death Before Dishonor show.
Wow, that just goes to show you how much she sucks.
The division was terrible. The division is terrible. It was terrible. It just, they have no future. With the Maria Manic thing, they let her go. They let her contract expire. WWE didn't want her because I don't think she's all that great. Ring of Honor brought her back in. Just the whole thing's a fucking mess. So, bottom line, though, it's a messy situation, but hopefully by the end of it, Kelly Klein, I think, is talented enough to wind up in AEW. Her husband works there anyway behind the scenes.
Wow.
So, I would be surprised if that's where she didn't end up ultimately.
Yeah, I love her. Like, as soon as I saw her, I'm an instant fan. Like, she just seemed like a badass where she doesn't care what anyone else thinks. Like, she will go ahead and do whatever she wants. And I think that's really admirable, but when you told me about what happened, I'm like, this is so, like, you cannot be serious
bad.
right now. This is so bad. And
it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, I feel bad. And the first thing I thought was like, okay, well, she's going to AEW. Like, she could very well go to NXT, but, like, it doesn't make as much sense as her going to, like, AEW, because you just said her husband works there.
It'd be cool to see her in NXT, but I don't really think they need her right now. They already have enough women.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, it's
they have so many women they're not even using right now. That women that you don't even know of because they're not even on TV yet. So they don't need her.
And that jungle lady that comes out like every week, and I always ask you what her name is, and then you're like,
Tainara
you know her.
Conchi?
Yeah, whatever her name is.
The one with the black belt. Did you say Jungle Girl? What?
It's
the one with the blonde hair.
She comes out with like that Tarzan music. Or it's like leaves in the background.
It's Tainara Conchi. Because if you're not talking about Aaliyah or Vanessa Bourne, it's the blonde hair girl.
Yeah, doesn't she have like leaves in her background though? She's got like
she might, but she has a black belt
when she comes out.
Or, yeah, like, the girl that you ask her name every single time. It's Tainara. That's her name.
Okay, whatever her name. She's got really pretty eyes, but that's besides the point. But I could totally see her in AEW, and she would do really good things for their women's division. Because right now, like, I feel like everywhere, at least from where I'm watching, like WWE, NXT, AEW, all their women's divisions, like, except for NXT, they're not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, you can say, oh, Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks and, you know, like 2 or 3 women, Becky Lynch. Okay, but you need to have, like, that's like saying in NXT, if you had all the other women suck or not on TV, and then you had Candice LeRae and, like, Io Shirai on, and that's it. Or, like, Shayna Baszler, and then that's it. Mm-hmm. That's so annoying, because coming from someone who used to do, like, shows when I was in high school, and, you know, everything, like, going behind, like, middle school and stuff, I always wanted a chance to show off what I could do, and the same people would get the same main character roles, or they would always be put in the spotlight. It's like this, like, you should be rotating your entire roster and what you have, so we don't keep seeing the same people, because it's so annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Kelly Klein, like, could do so much for AEW, because she could show, hey,
they need more women there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You have more women to show on TV instead of showing the same ones.
And she is really good, too, I think.
I think she's good, yeah.
Their next question, do you feel that NXT will be able to maintain their ratings and have a shot in continuing their winning streak against AEW in the Wednesday Night Wars post-Survivor Series? Do you feel that NXT beating AEW Dynamite last week in the ratings was just a one-week wonder, as probably the rating spike is because of the NXT Invasion angle going into Survivor Series? Or will the rating winning streak continue for NXT, seeing AEW as looking like they are losing steam with some recent mediocre attendance during AEW Dynamite tapings? So that was a very long-winded way of saying, do you think NXT's winning streak in the ratings will continue this week?
Yes, I do. I said this to you the other day.
Yes, we were discussing this yesterday.
Yeah. I think they're definitely going to win just because...
I don't think so, but...
I think they've gotten so much praise from everybody. Like, the whole audience was behind them. Everyone on Twitter was behind them from what I saw, or Instagram. They were all behind them. And I know you're going to say, like, oh, well, they only won because they had Becky Lynch or all these... I didn't watch NXT when they were on, but... that doesn't matter to me now because they were on, like, Survivor Series. Like, NXT was on Survivor Series. And now everyone knows who they are. People who went to go see a quote-unquote WWE pay-per-view also watched NXT people. And they were cheering louder for the NXT people than they were for, like, you know, the other people who are on, like, Raw and SmackDown. So I think they absolutely could win. I don't see why not. AEW, it's not that I don't think they're losing steam or they're
No, I don't know where they're getting that from. Their ratings are still really, really strong. So
I think he might be saying that just because there's a lot of buzz with NXT being on TV now, and that's kind of more of the focus right now.
He's talking about, like, attendance figures, but it's not like NXT's having an issue with that because they have to fill fucking 200 seats.
Yeah, like, it's not...
If they go on the road, they'd have the same issue that AEW does. That's not really an argument. I haven't really seen any... I mean, I've seen pictures of their attendance not being great, but the crowds are really, really loud. The ratings are still strong, and the show's still really, really good. So I don't really see the whole losing steam argument. I don't really see that.
AEW is kind of in a harder place because they don't have, like, a Raw or a SmackDown to put their stuff on and showcase it to millions of people and say, hey, this is what channel we're on. This is where you can find us. Come watch us Wednesdays at 8 o'clock.
I mean, they do have that with TNT, but I know what you're saying.
No, that's what I'm saying. They don't have something way bigger than Dynamite, like with 3 million viewers.
Exposure. Yeah, no, because they're not established yet.
Well, exactly. That's why what makes it harder, but in other words, like, that perhaps makes them more impressive because they've beat NXT so many times, and NXT has all these tools to get way more viewers, but they haven't yet. And, like, I can totally see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I think they're gonna win. I just do.
Yeah, I don't think they will. In theory, I think it would make sense. I just don't see it happening. I want NXT to win because I think NXT more often than not is the superior show. But I guess we'll find out Wednesday. And it's Thanksgiving Eve. I'm not really sure how that will affect things. AEW is already advertising an AEW World Championship match in advance with Scorpio Sky and Chris Jericho. NXT has nothing advertised as of this recording. So we'll see. Jared J. from Facebook, his first question was, with Kevin Owens' appearance at TakeOver on Saturday and his actions at Survivor Series, do we see more of Tommaso Ciampa and Kevin Owens long term, either as partners or as opponents? No, I think it was kind of just a storytelling tidbit to do with TakeOver and then to lead to Ciampa, it made no sense to me, because Kevin Owens was favorable towards NXT on Saturday, of course, then on Sunday too, and then Ciampa just eliminated him out of nowhere. So I thought that was weird. I think they only really did that to tell that story in that match. Kevin Owens coming out of Monday's Raw seems wrapped up with Seth Rollins right now. So maybe down the road we'll see more with Owens and Ciampa, maybe even Adam Cole too. But for right now, I think he is done with NXT.
The only reason why I think that happened is because I feel like Vince or somebody said, like, I want this to happen, or like somebody asked to eliminate him. It would have made more sense to just have, like, someone from SmackDown eliminate him.
Yeah, it made no sense.
It made absolutely no sense. I didn't get it. So I don't think that's gonna happen. I think, like you said, he's wrapped up with Seth Rollins right now. They're building him up though.
He's going to be the new featured face of Raw, I would assume, based on how he was positioned last night and the reactions he's been getting lately, so they'd be fools not to. But I think he is done with NXT for the foreseeable future. Jared's second question, thoughts on AEW Dark's use of guest commentators? Would you like to see it continue, or would you prefer to see Excalibur have a regular partner on the show? So you don't really watch AEW Dark, but they have Excalibur, the guy with the mask.
Yeah.
He brings in a recurring cycle, like they kind of cycle different guest commentators in and out. So one week they had Chuck Taylor do it. One week they had Taz, who was from WWE. One week they had MJF do commentary.
Oh, God.
Which was great. They've had a gold-dusted commentary, Dustin Rhodes, a couple weeks ago. He was pretty good. I like that idea. It kind of gives it a fresh feel. I would like to see that over... I think Golden Boy's really good. He hasn't been on Dynamite. I think maybe one episode. But that would be a good spot for Golden Boy because he's really, really good. But I think a recurring, or rather a cycle of guest commentators is better than that guy, not Tony Schiavone, the other dude, Alex Marvez, who was doing the early commentary bit for AEW, and it wasn't all that good. So I'd rather see them do what they're doing now than go back to doing that. So far, I think it's been a solid concept.
I will say this reminds me of when Samoa Joe was the commentator last week on Raw.
Yes.
And I actually, because I had never really heard him, like I'm like, oh, let me actually hear what he has to say. Like, I actually listened, and I actually appreciated what he was saying, and I was more, like, tuned into the show, as opposed to, like, hearing the same voices every week. I'm like, okay, whatever, like, I'm tuning you out right now. So I think that actually does them some good, because people can actually pay attention to what they're saying, instead of being like, oh, this is ding and dong talking every week. Like, I'm sick of hearing their voices.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure what happened to Dio Madden. He's been out for 3 weeks now. That must have been one hell of an F5. So
that's so stupid.
It's weird. But anyway, his third question, his next question: how should NXT follow up on Keith Lee's performance at Survivor Series? Good question. Well, it should be noted that they've done nothing with Mansoor. After he won the Super Showdown Battle Royal, the greatest Royal Rumble, or the greatest Battle Royal in history, won it, wasn't on TV for like another 2 or 3 months. When he came back, he lost to Damian Priest. He beat Cesaro in what I thought was the best match at Crown Jewel a couple weeks ago. Has not been on the show since. He might have been on one episode of 205 Live that we watched. Other than that, have not seen the guy since. And NXT's usually really good about that type of stuff. I know Keith Lee is obviously more polished overall, more established than Mansoor. But usually stuff that they do with the main roster, that's more of a Vince decision and not really a Triple H vision. Like, they may have already had plans to go in the direction of Roderick Strong and, let's say, Kushida for the North American Championship as opposed to Keith Lee. I think at this point, Strong's only been champion for about 2 months, but they should put Keith Lee in contention for that championship. He beat Roderick Strong a couple weeks ago on the show. So it would only make sense, maybe not that he beats him for the championship, but he's got to at least go for the title. And honestly, ultimately, it might be even bigger than that. I think they could put Keith Lee in line for a run of the NXT championship. Now, they have a lot of people currently in that championship picture between Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne had the title shot on Sunday. So maybe not right now, but Keith Lee is the ultimate guy to beat Adam Cole for that title. Honestly, I would not be opposed to that at all. It's better than rushing up to the main roster and having him do nothing like EC3. So they have to follow up on this one way or the other, because just having him go back to losing to Dominik Dijakovic or God knows who else, Damian Priest, will do him no favors. So any thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I really have not that much to say about that one, but I agree with that. I love him. He's amazing.
Bask in my glory.
I have to download that song. Oh,
it's a fucking banger.
It's really good.
I said that last week. Someone asked me, AWSM Media guy, you can answer this question. This was from last week about how he said, what are some banger theme songs in NXT right now?
Wouldn't you just call it Awesome Media Guy?
Well, that's his Twitter handle.
AWSM Media Guy. Awesome.
Yeah, no, but it is... No, AWM. It's
I know it's AWSM because he follows me and he's commented on my stuff.
Okay, so that's... Okay, well, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Taha.
I know, yeah.
Taha, we love you, my man. His question was, banger theme songs in NXT right now. Ooh. And aside from the obvious ones like Undisputed Era, Johnny Gargano, I said Keith Lee, Io Shirai, and what was the other one? Oh, Swerve. Yeah, right there.
AWSM Media Guy.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Awesome Media Guy.
Okay, we'll just go with that. Taha. So anyway, I said Isaiah Swerve Scott, Keith Lee, and Io Shirai.
Oh, yeah. Why don't they put Io Shirai's theme on Spotify?
Because I don't think it's a CFO theme song, so it's not...
So? What is it, a real song?
It's not a CFO song, so if someone else composed it, it might take longer to get it uploaded. That's probably why Isaiah's song isn't up there yet. Cameron Grimes' new song, people like that. So.
Mine would be Pete Dunne, Rhea Ripley, because I listened to
Rhea
that
Ripley
today.
too.
Let's see. I love those two. Some of their pay-per-view songs have been really good too that I just can't.
The pay-per-view songs are great, but I'm talking like superstar themes.
Yeah. The Street Profits theme is really good too. I'm counting that as NXT. No, I count that as NXT. Come on.
Okay, fine. Even though they're on Raw, but whatever.
Well, okay.
You liked it when they were in NXT.
Yeah, I downloaded it when they were in NXT, so I count that. Johnny Gargano, every time I listen to that song about the gym, I like go hard because I love that song and I love him and he's amazing. And Undisputed Era, I listened to theirs yesterday and it was a great workout. I'm gonna say that.
That's another obvious one too.
But definitely
I would throw in Dijakovic's new theme is cool.
Definitely Rhea Ripley though, I love hers.
Rhea Ripley, Ciampas is great. Ciampas is a banger too. Not much to go off there because it just repeats the same. Like they all do that, but Ciampa specifically, his song is like the same one verse. I'm not even sure if there's two verses.
No, it's just one verse.
Yeah, but it's still a great song.
Change that, I feel like.
But anyway, overall, they have a lot of great themes in NXT. Let's see. At RJ_Marceau, our brother Mr. Marceau, his question was, where does the Dakota Kai heel turn on Tegan Nox rank in your NXT heel turns?
Ooh.
This is a great question.
Yeah.
Because when I was thinking about this on Saturday when it happened, because there's so many great heel turns in NXT. 2 of them have happened this year alone. 3 really, if you include this one. 2 other ones I can think of in 2019 alone. Io Shirai when she went heel on Candice.
Yep.
Because no one saw that coming. And she's become a great heel. I would have to consider, too, not only the turn itself, but also the aftermath of where they went after turning heel.
Yeah.
So Io Shirai's really coming to her own as a heel. So that would be up there. And also Finn Balor. Finn Balor might be the number 1 because legit nobody saw that coming.
That was...
And the execution was beautiful.
Oh my God. I'm like, how did you even... Like, I've watched this so many times. Like, how did you do that? Like, how?
It was fucking cool.
It was so cool. I mean, I didn't like it because I love Johnny Gargano, but that was, like, perfect. It was so cool. And he walked away, and now he's doing, like, the bullet stuff. It looks so badass.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he had the best heel turn, probably, of them all. Where does Kai's rank among even those 3? But you also got to consider when Kevin Owens turned on Sami Zayn, the night he debuted, Sami Zayn won the NXT Championship. Him and Kevin Owens walking up the ramp. Kevin Owens, bang, right on the ramp. It was amazing, great moment. RJ, I remember he was watching it, not with me, but he was like, oh, what a great show. I'm like, did you see that ending? He's like, no, what? Because he turned off the show after that little thing went up in the corner. I'm like, dude, you never turn off the show until it's fully over.
Yeah.
He missed the heel turn. He's like, oh my God, what the fuck? So shout out to RJ who asked us this question, but always watch until the very, very, very,
until
very
they
end.
black out.
That's exactly what they did with Ciampa too. When Ciampa turned on Gargano, it was great. So that might be the number 1 just because their feud turned into something so amazing between those 2.
Yeah.
They had such a great feud and such a great story in NXT. That would probably be number 1. Kai's would probably be towards the bottom just because out of all of those, hers was the most predictable. We figured she was going heel. They made it very obvious. I just didn't think it would happen when it did when she was walking out of the cage.
That was unexpected. They're really good with executing it.
Yeah.
But it was a little predictable. And we don't know what's going to happen afterwards. Like we
so
know.
I'd probably rank it towards the bottom, but in the moment though, it was a great heel turn and it was very vicious too. I thought they did a great job of making her from like a lovable babyface to like this hated heel within the matter of moments with that attack on Tegan Nox. It was great. Let's see. At Thomas_B96 here. Do you see Adam Cole facing both Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne next time for the NXT Championship? A lot of NXT questions here. No, I don't. Pete Dunne got beat clean 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So what reason would he have to go back for the championship? I really just think that was a one-off. And it was an amazing match. It was the best match at Survivor Series.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon again.
I think it's going to be Cole and Ciampa for the championship, whether it's on NXT TV or at the TakeOver in February. But that I think it's going to be Ciampa and Dunne straight up. Or I'm sorry, Ciampa and Adam Cole straight up. At Hardy DX fan from Twitter, has there ever been a WWE DVD documentary, for example, CM Punk's Best in the World, that you forgot was so good after rewatching it? This doesn't really apply to you because we haven't really watched many documentaries together. We did watch the Punk one.
We watched the Nigel McGuinness one.
Yes, we did. I'm thinking more, he's talking about the DVD documentaries like the Punk one. That's a network special. That was great, though. The Nigel one was really, really good.
Yeah, and that's why I like him, because of that one, because it was so good, and I can appreciate him.
The Punk one was great. I never really forgot how good that one was. I rewatch it solely because it is good. I got to go back and rewatch some of the old ones that I used to watch. Like, I have not seen Triple H's since it came out many, many years ago. I saw Mick Foley's for the first time about 6 years ago, rewatched it about 4 years ago, and I was reminded how great it was. That was a good one. That's also in the network, I think, still. Edge's was really good. I'm trying to think of ones that I forgot were good until I rewatched them. I usually just watch them once and that's it. I never really rewatch stuff for the most part. They are all on the network. The Jeff Hardy one, I forgot how good that one was until I rewatched it a couple years ago. I tend to watch that once in a while. That was a really good one. Those are all the DVD documentaries, but they do a great job with those documentaries. The Warrior one was amazing. Got to rewatch that one soon. I remember that being very, very good. I fucking cried watching that one. So I can definitely vouch for those being good. I don't remember certain ones that I didn't watch after a while and thought, oh, that's better than I thought it was originally. I don't really watch stuff multiple times unless I know it's good. But those are some examples, though. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Check out his YouTube show, Real Honesty with John Ritland. He is reviewing Knives Out this week.
Ooh,
and we're
nice.
seeing that on Wednesday, the day that this comes out. So looking forward to watching that review. His first question was, clearly War Games was the better show this weekend, but would you say this year's Survivor Series was better or worse than last year's show? Now, you didn't watch Survivor Series with me last year.
Yes, I was working that day.
Yes, and the next day you had class or something, so I watched it like early Monday morning. Mm-hmm. I thought this year's show was better, just because last year might have had better matches overall, because they had Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar, which I remember was an amazing match. And they had Ronda and Charlotte, which was also great. But what pissed me off about that pay-per-view was the fact that SmackDown won nothing.
Yeah.
They won no matches.
That, yeah.
So I really ended that show, despite the amount of good matches they had on that show. I was like, wow, I'm fucking pissed because they made SmackDown look like losers. Mm-hmm. At least this year they had, it wasn't terrible wrestling in NXT 1. They had some pretty good wrestling, and NXT 1 in the end. And it was exactly what I hoped it would be. And there was nothing coming out of that show aside from the Walter elimination that pissed me off for the most part.
That pissed me off. That was absolutely bullshit.
That was fucking dumb, but overall I thought this year's show was better. Survivor Series is rarely a show, it's like a must-see show. Not as much as the Rumble is, or Mania, or even SummerSlam. But I thought this year's show was probably, if only, a little bit better than last year. Honestly, one of the better shows all year. And that's a testament to how kind of mediocre the other shows were. But definitely better than Hell in a Cell. Better than Crown Jewel. Better than Super Showdown. Mm-hmm. I remember Stomping Grounds was good. Extreme Rules was good. SummerSlam was pretty good.
I would say the better ones were like Stomping Grounds and this one. Those were the
Money in the Bank was honestly one of the more underrated shows of the year. When we went, I remember Money in the Bank was a really good show.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't remember being like,
WrestleMania was good.
Well, I don't remember being completely satisfied after I left. Mostly
that was the
Brock
Lesnar thing. That's why people don't include that in like their top pay-per-views of the year. But I agree. I thought Survivor Series, bottom line, I think we can both agree, was one of the better pay-per-views they put out all year.
Yeah.
Again, the other shows may not have been as strong, but that's a whole other issue. His second question, who do you think has the higher ceiling? Keith Lee or Rhea Ripley?
Rhea Ripley.
I knew you were going to say that.
Absolutely.
That's a tough question because they're both great.
Yeah, but Rhea Ripley's been, like, I just feel like lately there's been a bigger focus on her, whereas Keith Lee, the bigger focus started, like, now.
At Survivor Series.
Yeah, like, he's been there, he's been showing up at, like, Raw and SmackDown, invading, quote-unquote, but he hasn't been, like, a main focus. Rhea Ripley was, and still is, a main focus, and I love her.
I'm going to say Rhea Ripley, too, just because I love Keith Lee, but I feel like if you promote both of them to the main roster tomorrow, who becomes successful quicker? I got to go Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
Just because I think there's a lot more margin for error with the men. I mean, because there's just a lot fewer women.
If you're a really talented woman and you, like...
But there's not a lot of... I mean, there's some good women in the main roster, but you really just have to overcome the 4 horsewomen, and that's
Exactly. She's so talented, she's so unique, and she has so many people behind her that because there's so little women that are that good...
It's easier to be successful,
it's
but
way
she's also
easier
great.
for her to be successful.
Yeah. So I would say Rhea Ripley. Keith Lee, I get the feeling that when he gets called up, they might just have him do nothing.
That's what I'm nervous about. I want him to stay in NXT for a while. Rhea Ripley can go up. She'd be a star.
I feel like Keith Lee might be the next Andrade where he comes up, gets some wins, like has some really good matches, but they've had no memorable feuds with the guy at all. Like he had a little thing with Rey Mysterio earlier this year, but aside from that, he's been at the same level this entire time. They gotta start moving on with him.
And then he'll like randomly show up and then beat someone's ass and then that's it. Like there's nothing to it.
It's not consistent with him.
Yeah.
They gotta take him to the next level. You either gotta shit or get off the pot. The old saying. Either poop or get off. You don't just sit on the toilet doing nothing.
Why do you say poop? We're
what,
swearing.
Say
shit.
You don't shit and just sit there or not do anything. You either got to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, it's now or never.
Exactly. So I think Rhea Ripley is the higher ceiling for success. As great as Keith Lee is, I think Rhea Ripley is more likely to be successful.
That's a good question, though.
It's a shorter window, I would say, but it is a very good question. His third question here. what do you think of WWE moving away from having a takeover before the Big Four pay-per-views and Money in the Bank starting next year? So they are and they aren't. Because they're doing a takeover before Royal Rumble weekend next year, but it's not a takeover. It's a Worlds Collide show, and it's NXT versus NXT UK. So it's not a takeover, but NXT will still be involved in the weekend, okay? They're doing a takeover, a standalone takeover, which is nothing new. They did one this year when we went to Takeover 25. It wasn't before some weekend. It was just some random Saturday night. And they did it in Bridgeport, Connecticut when we went. And they're doing that again next year. And they are still doing a takeover before WrestleMania next year. They're not getting away from that. They're still doing a takeover the night before WrestleMania. So they are and they aren't. We don't really know the full schedule for next year, so they may be doing one before SummerSlam. They may not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they'll stick to 4 or 5 takeovers a year. I would hope so. Any more than that, I feel like is overkill. Don't become the main roster pay-per-views where we have a fucking pay-per-view every 3 or 4 weeks. I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
I like the takeovers being quarterly. They feel more special, like the AEW pay-per-views. I like that a lot. So, yeah, they haven't done one before Money in the Bank since last year when I went. They didn't do that this year. They did it a couple weeks after Money in the Bank in the same state and here in Connecticut, which was cool. But, yeah, I don't really have an issue with it. I think they've proven they can have a sellout crowd or a pretty strong crowd without having to piggyback off the main 4 pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. I think it's cool to have it over WrestleMania weekend. It's perfect. The shows are always great. They don't have to have one over Survivor Series weekend, or they don't have to have one over SummerSlam weekend. I would keep the one at Mania weekend. The other ones are up in the air, but it is cool. They are doing more standalone shows, so we can look forward to a takeover and then like another Big Four pay-per-view, and it's not crammed into one weekend. Because like this weekend was packed between the takeover and the Survivor Series. It can just be a lot sometimes. Mania is understandable. The other weekends, it's like, not a big fan of it. Let's see here. Their next question, John's last question.
He has a lot of questions.
Yeah, he sent in 4. They're always good questions, too. Yeah. So the crowd booing the 3-way women's match at Survivor Series. What was that all about? Fans want the women to be featured more prominently, and then they do that? Question mark, question mark, question mark?
Yeah.
I didn't really hear any booing during the match. I remember them booing like afterward or
they were saying boring.
Okay, if that's what he's talking about, I wasn't really paying attention to that.
Okay, basically
that's bullshit.
Yeah, I feel like what he's saying is like I did hear a couple of boos, but also they're kind of just shitting on it because they're bored, which is stupid. Like that one, I feel like that one I was most excited for. I mean, I'd rather have it just be Shayna and Becky, but I mean, at the same time, I was tired, so I didn't really pay attention. Wink, wink. I didn't really pay attention to that match.
It was a fine match. It wasn't terrible. It was just really disappointing, that's all. It wasn't what it could have been. And it was a lame ending to the show. That's it. I mean, it doesn't justify the crowd booing. It wasn't a terrible match. They tried. It should not have gone on last. It was a long night.
No, it was weird that it went on last. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, not that it should be this big deal that women are main eventing. It's nice that it's not, like you said while the show was going on. I mentioned it. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I get where he's coming from. Like, we're making this big deal about a women's revolution, but yet if they main event and then the show's going on and you're booing it. But at the same time, if it's not a good match or it's not an exciting match, then people are going to boo or people are going to say boring. But I just think they should shut their mouths and just watch it. Like, stop complaining.
There was a fine line there. I don't think they needed to boo. I don't think they needed to chant boring. It wasn't a good match. I don't know. To boo, I think is a little much, but I agree with what he's saying.
I think they just need to stop.
Yeah, I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah.
At Iwagu91 from Twitter, their first question here. Would you compare Matt Riddle to Kurt Angle in terms of taking off with pro wrestling that fast, both in-ring wise and success wise? In-ring wise, yes. Success wise, no. Kurt Angle had not wrestled much at all in the WWE, in pro wrestling in general. It's not like he had a stint in WCW or ECW. He almost went to ECW, but it didn't happen. That's a whole other story. He went to WWE, debuted at Survivor Series. By WrestleMania, 4 months later, he was already the Intercontinental and European Champion. Within months later, he was the World Tag Team Champion, he won King of the Ring, and by the fall, he was the World Heavyweight Champion. Matt Riddle's now been in WWE for over a year. He has yet to win anything. So, success-wise, no. In-ring-wise, for sure. I mean, the guy's only been wrestling now for 4 or 5 years, and he's already fantastic. Mm-hmm. Matt Riddle is awesome. So, he's not quite Kurt Angle, success-wise, even in the ring. But in terms of kind of like a duck taking the water. He's done a great job. Ronda Rousey's another one. I would honestly compare her more to Kurt Angle than Matt Riddle because she had no prior pro wrestling experience before she came to WWE. Shayna did and all the other women did. Ronda did not. She came in, had a few matches, won over the audience immediately, won the Raw Women's Championship in like her second or third match in the company, and she was great for the year that she was around for.
Yeah.
So Ronda was great. Matt Riddle's still getting there, but he is very good in his own right. His second question, considering the Bash at the Beach was WCW's equivalent to SummerSlam, is it no surprise that WWE did not renew the trademark to it? I mean, there's a lot of pay-per-views that WCW owns, like a lot of their pay-per-view names, like Halloween Havoc, Starrcade, Fall Brawl, Bash at the Beach, they don't use anymore. They don't need to use anymore. Starrcade they're using for a house show on Sunday. A lot of the other pay-per-view names they don't use anymore. That doesn't mean they shouldn't trademark it, though. I do agree if they're not going to use it, they should probably just get rid of it. But just because they don't use it for a pay-per-view name doesn't mean they don't use it at all. I think they may have to renew it either for the network service or for merchandise, because they still do put out merchandise with the WCW pay-per-view names on them. I have seen those on Shop before. I have a Halloween Havoc shirt, so I mean, that's where I got that from. It's not like, oh, they don't really need it, so let's not renew the trademark. I mean, just because they don't have it as a pay-per-view, and I don't think they should. I think using old pay-per-view names is kind of stupid overall, just because you should be creating your own pay-per-view names and not taking things from the past. Like, you should be moving toward the future. But just because they're not using it doesn't mean they probably won't renew it. I mean, that's not surprising. And it may not be AEW's to use anyway. I heard they were calling one of their shows that in Miami next year, and then I think it's still called Bash at the Beach, but I heard WWE try to apply for a trademark, or they're pursuing legal action. I'm not sure. Anyway, his next question. What are your thoughts on Daniel Bryan and The Miz remaining at odds despite being faces right now? You want to start off this question?
I really like that. I think it's really cool to like never forget about things, because then you have plot holes. Like, I like the fact that they still don't like each other.
It's consistent. It's nice storytelling. It's nice attention to detail.
Exactly. I really enjoy that. Whereas there's other stuff on there that absolutely makes no sense, like Kevin Owens being on Team NXT, or not on Team NXT, but being on Tommaso's team at War Games, and then all of a sudden the next night getting beat or pinned by Team NXT and eliminated. But it's nice. I don't know who decided to keep that a thing, but whoever did, good on them.
No, I thought that was smart. I mean, to do their match when they did on SmackDown, I thought was poor timing, just because they should build towards their next match and not just throw it out there on SmackDown. I thought that was kind of a waste, especially with no finish. But yeah, I do like it. They have been at odds now for almost a decade in February. That's when Daniel Bryan debuted in WWE. The Miz was his pro in the NXT version. It was like a competition-style show back then. The Miz was his pro. They were at odds. They were at odds all year long. Bryan beat him for the U.S. Championship later on that year. Didn't really do much in 2011. They rekindled that rivalry when Bryan retired years later in like 2015, 2016. They went off on each other. They kept going at each other when Daniel Bryan was retired. Bryan came back. He was clear to compete. They feuded last year at SummerSlam. So, I like the fact they've kept it consistent and they haven't, steered away from the fact that they, deep down, good guy, bad guy, regardless of what their dynamics are as characters, they will forever hate each other. I like that a lot. And hopefully at some point we will see them go one-on-one again. Whether it's The Miz going back as a heel or Bryan, I don't know. But I think Bryan and The Miz one-on-one again for like the World Championship would be pretty cool. But it's not happening as long as Bray Wyatt's the champion. His next question. Recall Low-Key's only WWE pay-per-view appearance being as the challenger to Dolph Ziggler's Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series 9 years ago. Yes, I do remember that. I remember it being a pretty good match. Low-Key up to that point had only won. He won the second season of NXT, which he wasn't supposed to. It was a fan vote. Vince didn't want him to win. No one wanted him to win.
Fan vote?
They had fans vote on who would get eliminated, like fucking American Idol. It would partially take in, they would kind of rig the voting sometimes, but mostly, though, they would eliminate based off fan voting. So this guy, Low-Key, his name was Caval in WWE. He ended up winning by fan vote, and they immediately buried him, and they put him on SmackDown just because they had to. He won no matches. He lost to everybody, randomly beat Ziggler one night on SmackDown, said that he wanted his title shot to be against Ziggler at Survivor Series for the championship. They had a pretty good match. He lost. He was released from the company within a month, like less than a month later. So he probably had Like, I kind of think of it a lot like Jordan Miles, because Jordan Miles, not that it was a fan vote thing or that they didn't want him to win, but he won the breakout tournament, like this big moment, got a contract, also like Caval, like Low-Key, got a title shot, lost, and he was gone from the company within 2 months. Now, again, his situation was a little different because he requested his release, he quit, he was claiming the company was racist. I've spoken my my piece on that here on the show. Low-Key, they just got rid of because they had no plans for the guy. But still, I kind of think of it as a similar situation to a certain extent. At Farron's53, his question was, should AEW and WWE bring in someone to help talent handle social media better? They absolutely should. A lot of these people on social media is just stupid. Like, you can tell they handle their social media themselves when, like, Lana goes off and, stuff like that. I think both companies would benefit from hiring someone to do their social media for them. I think that'd be a very good idea.
I'm honestly shocked that they don't already do that, because a lot of celebrities don't I'm not saying like, oh, all the wrestlers are considered full-on celebrities, but the bigger ones and some of them that just don't know how to handle social situations on social media should definitely already have someone looking out for their stuff, because you can't trust a bunch of people to like what if I just post, like, what if I was like a famous wrestler and then I just posted like a really inappropriate picture and I'm like flipping the camera off, or I'm like, I don't know, doing drugs or something and putting it on social media. Like, that looks bad, and I did that to myself. You can avoid that by either maybe have like a workshop with them and tell them what they shouldn't
I think post. They actually have done that to their credit, but they just aren't doing a good enough job because a lot of these people are still saying dumb shit on their social media pages.
They definitely need to have someone that manages all of their social media pages, or a team that manages all of them, because I'm honestly shocked they haven't already done that.
Yeah, no, it's surprising. A lot of it is very, like, you'd be surprised. Like, we look at a tweet and we're like, wow, they tweeted that? Like, why would you do that? Like, you work for a company that's as big as WWE, and even AEW too. Like, I was surprised Tony Khan was tweeting at what he did with Randy Orton, which I thought was just, the guy's your fucking president. Like, you wouldn't see Vince doing that type of shit. Like, I like the guy, but that was just stupid, so I agree. At Lavid Poreva, LAVIDPOREVA, your question was, what were her thoughts, or you, talking about you, because I said hashtag Ask Alexis.
Yeah.
What were Alexis's thoughts on the Survivor Series main event? Would she have placed it elsewhere on the show, and who was her prediction to win? So you already talked about the main event, how it was boring, but where would you have placed it? Would you have placed it elsewhere on the show?
Absolutely. I would have put either, not the men's one, I would have either put like the women's 5-on-5-on-5 match at the end, just because I feel like that
was one of the better matches of the show.
That was like the most entertaining thing I watched. Or the Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio one, or the men's 5-on-5-on-5. Because I think either one of those three made the most sense, and especially what their outcome was, I feel like either one of those three made the most sense. The women's one, like, because it was last, you're almost expecting something to happen, and when it just plain ended and Becky Lynch like tried to beat the shit out of Shayna, it made no sense. And I absolutely predicted Shayna to win. All of us did.
Yeah.
What we do at my family's when there's a WWE pay-per-view on, we'll have everyone that watches it. We all put our names down. We all put the matches down, and we all do predictions, and we tally off who won at the end. But I predicted Shayna to win. Everyone did. We didn't see anything else happening. But yeah, I would have definitely put it towards the end, like, but not, like, I would say before the Brock and Rey Mysterio match, because
by that point NXT would have already won, and then it's like the whole brand supremacy stuff is over with, so you could just focus on Brock and Rey.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like, oh, maybe not the men's match, even though it was the better match, just because, okay, SmackDown gets a win, but they still lose.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
No, but you're right though. So either Brock and Rey, because that stuff wouldn't have mattered at that point, because NXT would have already won, or the women's match, because then you could just reverse it, and the women's, they get the fourth victory.
It's that, and that also seemed the most like, oh my god, are they gonna win? Like, I don't know, they're going against the odds, like, who knows if they're gonna win. That one was more, I was like so into it and everyone else was, so I think that one definitely would have been a way better main event.
Yeah, I agree. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, do you think we should get Roman Reigns versus Keith Lee for the Universal Championship sometime next year? I mean, as good as the match would be, so honestly, let's be real here. Roman Reigns is beating Bray Wyatt for that Universal Championship. I don't see any other outcome to Bray Wyatt's title reign than Roman Reigns beating him for the belt at WrestleMania.
No comment.
I honestly, I hate to say it. You hate to see it, but that's what I see happening. Bray losing to Roman. And mind you, Bray has never won at WrestleMania. Ever.
Really?
Did he win? No, he wasn't at WrestleMania this year.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't there this year?
His presence was known the night after, though.
The year before, he wasn't. He was on the show. He helped Matt Hardy win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, but he wasn't in the match, and he didn't win. The year before that, he lost the WWE Championship to Randy Orton. The year before that, he wasn't on the show. He got buried by The Rock, but that's not in a match. That was verbally. The Eater of Hot Pockets.
Oh,
so he's missed 3 WrestleManias in the 6 years he's been on the main roster. Half of the WrestleManias he's been around for, he wasn't even on the show, which is shocking to me, but whatever. So the year before that, he lost to The Undertaker, and the year before that, he lost to John Cena. He has never won at WrestleMania, and that's not changing this year. I really don't. I'd be shocked if he walked out of WrestleMania still the champion.
You think WrestleMania is going to be him versus Roman?
I do. I mean, I honestly don't see any other... Who else could he face? Bryan would have been cool if they saved what they did from what they just did on Sunday, saved that for Mania. I would be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. And like had Bryan win the Rumble or something.
I just feel like it's a little... Like, WrestleMania is not that far away. I feel like that would be a little quick. Even though, like, it is a few months away, so they could build to it.
He saw the belt since Halloween,
I just feel like, whoa, we could save that for something, but it is Roman Reigns. They love fucking sucking him off. I don't see the magic in Roman Reigns. Everyone else does. I mean, obviously, I think that's going to happen. I don't think Keith Lee's going to get a chance at the Universal Championship anytime soon, just because...
Well, he said sometime next year, so I could see Roman winning at WrestleMania. Keith Lee gets called up the night after, or on the SmackDown after Mania, and then you can, put him in the title picture from there, but...
I don't think they would do that. I think he would be amazing at that, and he would be very popular, but are they going to do it is the question.
Nah, yeah, I don't really... No, because he wouldn't win, so... I mean, it would be a cool match, but I don't think we will.
He did pin Seth.
He did. I mean, it was a big win, but...
And their match, oh my God, Roman and Keith Lee was amazing. Like
they had a
really nice dynamic, but would they have him beat Roman Reigns, their fucking golden child? I don't think so.
I don't think they would do that. I mean, the match as a standalone match would be cool, but I feel like it would be no different than giving, like, Andrade a one-off shot at the Universal Championship. You know he won't win. He'll have a great showing, and then they'll proceed to do nothing with the guy. So I feel like Keith Lee would be no different.
Yeah.
His next question, do you think Rhea Ripley should beat Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship this Wednesday, win it, and then hold it to take over Tampa over WrestleMania weekend where she loses it to Dakota Kai?
That's a nice idea, but
she
definitely not
Wednesday.
Definitely not this Wednesday. She's going to take it away from her, but they had this whole face-off with Shayna and Becky, so I don't think that's... They have to make her look a little strong for a little while because she just faced off with Becky Lynch. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. They're definitely going to do that, though, and I definitely think Rhea Ripley is going to take the title away from her. The idea of having Dakota Kai, though, take it from Rhea Ripley...
I wouldn't do it immediately.
No, I would not do it immediately.
The story makes sense, though, because she was she betrayed the team, so I would say that for later on in the year, though.
That's a really nice idea, but Rhea Ripley... I mean, you'd have to build Dakota Kai up because, look at the two.
Well, she's been losing for 6 months, so, I mean, I wouldn't really have her take the title that soon. I would save that for down the road. Give Ripley a little bit of a run, and then you can have a Kai win it, and then Tegan Nox can chase for it. Like, there's the whole story you can go for there. But I wouldn't have Rhea Ripley lose it within a month because she's so dominant. Why would she lose it so quickly?
Yeah, they have so much right now. Like, they have so many women and so many things they could do with it that I think they're just... They're taking it really slow, and they're like, okay, what can we do? What are these? We have so many different options. Which one should we go for? And I think they're just weighing out their options right now.
Yeah, I think so too. So we'll see how the women's division shakes out on Wednesday. Their next question, do you think Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle will be moved to Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania? I could see Matt Riddle being called up, absolutely, because by that point he would have been in NXT for about 2 years, and if he's not going to win the championship, which I honestly thought he'd be called up in the draft, and he wasn't, which I'm glad he wasn't, but I thought he'd be drafted. So I could absolutely see him being drafted or moved to the main roster after Mania. Bianca, 100%, because by that point, she would have been in NXT for about 3 years. She's not going to win the championship. She might as well get called up. Keith Lee, Depends what they do with him. Maybe not that soon. If he wins a championship, give it some time. I'm not sure. Maybe. Rhea Ripley, I thought she'd be called up months ago after she left NXT UK. But I'm glad she's in NXT. And I don't want to see her get called up too quickly either, because there's a lot more stories you can tell with her in NXT. Mm-hmm. So definitely Bianca, definitely Matt Riddle, Rhea, and Keith are kind of question marks at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let them make the show they have on Wednesdays, like, let them build it up a little bit longer and then see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. And they have a lot of people right now, so they'll be bringing in more people, I'm sure, so they need to get rid of some people like that. But at the same time, like, I don't know, it's too early to tell, because it's only November. Come April, there's a spot on Raw or SmackDown for Matt Riddle, and I'm like, oh, he'd be perfect there, facing AJ Styles for the United States Championship, or Shinsuke Nakamura, or some shit like that. I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Right now, though, I do not want to see anyone get called up, because I know they'd be fucking buried the same way that EC3 was when he got called up before WrestleMania. At noob_n_code 1991, do you think the women's main event match at Survivor Series is the worst main event in 2019? That's a very good question.
Yikes.
No, it's not.
Absolutely not.
I was thinking like, oh, that's a good question. Then I'm like, oh wait, I just remembered that the Hell in the Cell main event.
I was just going to say there's 4 words, Hell in a Cell.
Hell in the Cell was way worse, and the Crown Jewel main event was worse too. I know Bray Wyatt won, and that was cool. The actual match sucked. So, no, it's not the worst match.
Wasn't the Goldberg versus Undertaker match?
That was a main event, too.
Okay, that's probably the worst one. That's probably the worst one.
No, Rollins and Wyatt was way worse.
What?
Dude, that match was terrible.
Okay, but the problem... No,
and the
problem
booking decision sucked.
Well, yeah, but the problem is, does the ending result weigh out the fact that those two could barely even wrestle? Like, they were so physically beat... Because they're so old, like, Undertaker's fucking, he's got, like, both his feet in the grave. One of his toes is hanging on for dear life. Do you think that weighs out, like, the ending of Hell in a Cell? Like, I think it does. I think that was way worse.
They were both pretty bad, but they were definitely worse than the Survivor Series one. We haven't had many other... I mean, I'm trying to think of the other bad pay-per-view main events.
I just don't understand why...
Corbin and Rollins a couple months ago wasn't good either, but...
I don't understand why people... are shitting on this main event so much.
It wasn't that bad. It was just disappointing.
The WrestleMania main event was very disappointing. Like,
this was more disappointing.
Well, no, but I'm saying in that aspect, in the same, it's very similar in the way that, like, it was built up so much, and then the ending was kind of like, oh, okay, like, I didn't expect that.
No, I agree.
Like, that's how it was. It wasn't like, I'm so angry. Like, Hell in a Cell, I was so mad, I had to, like, fucking count to 10. I was, like, so mad after that. And then the Undertaker and Goldberg one I heard about, I didn't see it, but I saw clips of it, and it was just pathetic. Like, that was pathetic.
It was pretty bad.
Those two are definitely, like, top 3, I think.
What did you think of the opening segment of Raw? Is Seth Rollins to blame for what happened at Survivor Series? I thought it was a good opening segment because they're finally playing into Rollins being the kind of the bitchy, whiny asshole that he's been on social media and in interviews for months now. Mm-hmm. If anything, this is long overdue. They should have done this months ago.
Yeah, they should have done it in late summer because...
Better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. He won't shut the hell up. Like, stop complaining. Yeah. But now that it's playing into his character, it works. It works so perfect. Well. And he's so passive-aggressive and such a little bitch that, like, it's like he does it really well.
Yeah, I thought that was great. So I really enjoyed the opening to Raw. Very happy they're finally seemingly turning him into a full-fledged heel. At E1-3A's got a number of questions here. How do you two feel about the one promotion they call All Elite Wrestling? Enjoyed a lot. AEW.
Oh, yeah. I blanked out I was reading all their questions. They have, like,
we'll get all the questions.
I like AEW.
Yeah,
it's nice. When we watched it live in Boston, it was cool. It was
Dynamite was a good show.
Yeah, it was.
All Out good show when we watched it.
The one thing I did say when we were doing our on the road review is the fact that it's like when I was there, I kind of felt a little uncomfortable because it was like all these dudes that were just like they have a different audience because they haven't done a lot of like. I'm not saying like they have to be kid friendly or they have to like. Be like, oh, girl power, feminist, because that's annoying. Mm-hmm. But it just seems like they only apply themselves to one audience, which is like people like you know?
Yeah.
So, like people like me, when I go to see it, I kind of feel like an outsider looking in. Mm-hmm. But that was really it. I mean, I really like their show. Like I said, I'm really impressed with the fact that they've built up this new promotion in the span of like 2 years, and they're already this far, and they're beating NXT for the most part every Wednesday. So Yeah.
We watch both shows. Sometimes we'll watch NXT first.
I try
Sometimes
to
we'll
watch-
watch Dynamite first.
I try to watch Dynamite first every week because I feel like they deserve the view. I mean, it's one view. Who cares? You're being stubborn, Alexis. But, like,
Hey.
I would... Wait, go lower. He's scratching my back.
Oh, God. I'll stop.
No.
You're distracting me.
Okay.
Continue.
I'll read the next question.
No. Go ahead.
Wait, can I read the next one?
Well, maybe in a second, but
Okay.
continue the...
Yeah, I think they're really impressing everyone with all the views and how they're beating out NXT. So, yeah, 2 thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I thought it was... Yeah, it's been great so far. Answer the next one.
How do you two feel about Survivor Series and brand supremacy? I think it's so stupid and so dumb. Like,
Who gives a shit?
The fact that, like, say we're 2 wrestlers on Raw and we just had, like, a match 2 months before, and then it's, like, Survivor Series, we're building up to it. 3 weeks later, we're like, oh, yeah, we can do this. Let's fight together. No, that makes no sense.
It's literally like that Twitter meme where it's like, nobody, Raw and SmackDown in November, brand supremacy.
Yeah, exactly.
December, nothing.
Like, no one cares. Nobody cares. Like, the fact that the Street Profits were there, like, you just got out of NXT. Really?
That was dumb. They did the same thing with Hell in a Cell. Come October, Hell in a Cell, even though no matches deserved it. Wait, what matches did they do? Oh, no, Banks and Sasha was pretty good. Rollins and
Banks
Wyatt
and
should not have been.
Becky?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Not Banks and Sasha. Banks and Becky was very good.
She's wrestling herself. Ow, Sasha, that hurt.
Rollins and Wyatt did not need it. So it's like, oh, every October, Hell in a Cell. Oh, every November, brand supremacy. We don't need that shit.
Wait, it's so
stupid.
It's so produced. Like, NXT feels so raw and natural that it just makes sense to have a pay-per-view to get all these matches out and then showcase, like, their feuds. But if... Oh, God.
Uh-oh. Hear a doggo coming.
I do. But, like, you have Hell in a Cell, it's like, ooh, spooky time. And then, like, 3 weeks later, like, they're already advertising for TLC. Survivor Series was literally a couple days ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, chill out. Stop. Like, just stop overproducing everything.
That's another question, too. What match deserves the TLC stipulation? None. What match right now deserves... I almost wrote an article talking about, oh, what match could be the TLC main event? Nothing. Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns? Charlotte and Becky versus Kabuki Warriors?
Nobody cares.
What
I don't
else?
care.
Brock won't even be on the show. Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan? No. That's not a TLC match.
He clearly shows up. Brock clearly just shows up for a paycheck. Like, you can tell
He shows up for the bigger
shows.
shows. He's at Survivor Series. He's at SummerSlam. He's at the Rumble. He's not at many other shows. That's it. So anyway, I just think it's stupid. How do you two feel about that one guy from Chicago they call CM Punk? Well, dude, we fucking love the guy. My profile pictures of the both of us meeting him 2 months ago.
I love him. First guy, when I watched wrestling with my family very casually in like 2013, 2014, I watched and I was like, oh, I feel weird watching it just because I'm a girl. Like, which is so stupid. Like, just get over it. Get over yourself. But the first person I saw and the first person like I kind of gravitated towards was CM Punk. And like I watched The Rock and I really liked what he was saying. Like I hated CM Punk, but I realized that I hated him because he was so good at what he was doing. And then when I started watching again with you, and then we started talking about it, and I found out he wasn't in the company anymore, blah, 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 like whatever happened. We watched his documentary. Like, you just learn to appreciate people because of who they are. Mm-hmm. And when you meet them, like when we met him, he was a saint. He was so nice. He did not rush us. Like, I got physically like touched and pushed when we met Seth Rollins, and the guy was like, come on guys, let's go. Like, let me stand here like a human being for 2 seconds. But when we met CM Punk, who arguably is like a bigger star and a bigger name, not in wrestling right now, just as a person, I would say, he was much more down to earth. He was laughing at like your jokes and stuff. I was like physically shaking because I just could not believe he was right in front of me. And he was such a nice person, so I really like him. And we left that day like I was a nervous wreck. I was so shaky and so happy because he was everything we could have imagined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. He was amazing. So big CM Punk fan, always have been, always will be. How do you two feel about that one medium known as video games? I can't really offer much insight on this. I'm not a big video game guy anymore. I really don't play many video games at all.
I used to play a lot of games on my computer before it shit the bed. I mean, it didn't really shit the bed, but I just don't use
Sims
it.
and stuff.
No, well, I play Sims. I love Sims. I used to play Minecraft on the Xbox, I think, 360. Mm-hmm. And I remember one day in specific, I spent literally all night playing Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like building this huge house. I had a little beach house, a little bar, I was like, what, maybe 10 or 11, and I was building a fucking beach bar or something. An underground, like, pool and stuff like that, little garden over there too. And then one day I go back to my house to add something to it because I was going to add this big extravagant, I had a roller coaster around it too. That's how awesome it was.
Oh, God.
I go back to my house one day. It all burned down.
Oh, God.
It was all made out of wood. I had a fireplace in the wooden house. I'm an idiot.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, I had stones surrounding it, but it all burned down. I'm like, you know what? I fucking give up. Whatever.
Mm.
And I used to love, I used to do video games a lot when I was younger, but my brothers kind of hoarded it.
Mm-hmm.
But we used to do, like I'm kind of into more, not like a hardcore games. Like, I really watch, like, people playing them. Like, I watched Detroit Become Human, which I told you about. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool game. If anyone else gets a chance to watch it or play it, please do. It's so cool. It's about, like, robots who were in, like, this alternate universe, like, in the future. Not that far into the future, like 2035 or something. Mm-hmm. And the story is surrounded around, like, 3 families, quote unquote families. And they all involve, like, robots, or they're called, like, AIs, and they're different roles in humans' lives. Like, they could be a maid. One of them was a maid. One of them was a caretaker for this older, famous painter. And the other one, I forget. It was Marcus, and then this other girl, and then someone else. Oh, he was, like, he helped the police. That was his job. And it kind of touched on racism and how segregation was a thing, except they did it with robots. And they literally had real actors doing it. They all did scripts. It was like filming a movie, but it was a video game. Mm-hmm. So I can definitely appreciate video games for what they are, and I wish I played them more, but I just don't.
I used to get the 2K games all the time, but
then here he is. I play 2K.
Then they just shit the bed. And I'm talking about the wrestling games too, not the sports games.
2K20. Oh my god.
I was honest. I have enough money with GameStop with GameStop gift cards I found from like a decade ago.
Yeah.
I have enough money to buy it myself. Not even wait for Christmas. Mm-hmm. Not even gonna bother. The game is so bad from what I've heard, and there's just no real value in getting it, that I'm not even going to bother wasting a Christmas item on that shit.
I saw a clip of one of, like, the scenes in 2K20, and it was this girl making fun of one of the main characters and the main character's friend, and she was, like, trying to insult her, and she's like, your grandmother doesn't even like you. And they were taking it seriously, like, she legitimately... I'm like, are you... what?
Game's terrible.
It is.
Not even going to bother.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big video game guy. Once the Wii kind of got old... I just stopped giving a shit about it. The Nintendo games are so simple. It's A, B, X, and that's it. The Nintendo, like, PlayStation and Xbox now are just too complicated for me. Next question is, how do you two feel about this thing that we call life? What do you got to say to that?
I like
it. What's the word for it? Not psychological.
C'est la vie.
No, what the fuck?
That's life in French?
No. What's
that's life?
Oh God.
Do the Joker dance.
Psychological question. Not psychological. Yeah, physiological.
Philosophical. Oh my god. Anyone listening, please feel
I'm supposed to be the journalism major.
Oh my
here.
god. Are you serious
right
now?
Hey, that's pretty good.
I'm the art kid and I know what I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't use this
He's
vocabulary
like, no, is it
too often.
philosophical? Oh my god, I'm just...
Still here, breathing and living.
You know what I thought the other day? I'm like, why are we, like, what's the whole point? You know? Not like in a like, oh my god.
As she pulls out a gun.
What's the point? No, it's like, why are we here? You know? Why are we all here? Why do we all have jobs and, like, we all have to do this or that? Like, some people get them, like...
Just do it.
Do it! Some people just get themselves, like, wrapped up in their own little world that they forget that, like, we built this world, so, like, you can change it.
I built it, yeah.
We built this city.
On... rock and roll.
Did you forget it for a
second? No, I was gonna come up with something else.
I like life now that you're here.
Well, their next question, that's Scarlet1 via Twitter. Dr. Phil here. How's your relationship been going?
Oh, that's so sweet. Good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, very good. He's my first boyfriend.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, you are.
We're sitting here answering. Let's put it this way: if she's still here over a year, almost a year and a half later, answering fucking wrestling questions with me from my YouTube channel, sitting in front of my Yeti microphone, then I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing okay.
A lot of people have asked me before, like in our lives, do you actually like wrestling? And I do, because I'm that type of person. Like, if I'm with someone I enjoy, and like at first I didn't really give a crap. Like, when we went to that SmackDown show in August last year, I like had no idea what was going on. Like, the first person that came out was Asuka, and I'm like, is that Asuka? Who's that?
Asuka.
I thought her name was Asuka.
I thought Shinsuke's name was Shinsuke.
Yeah.
God, I could not tell you how many people got pissed at that one.
Oh, that's so funny.
Calm down. I don't know who the fuck he is.
No,
Put your chopsticks down, people.
I had... Stop. Get out of the temple.
Jesus.
Hey, you said chopsticks.
Put the green mist away. Jesus.
But I really enjoy it because you enjoy it. Like, and once you watch something for a certain amount of time, you start to like get wrapped up in it. And NXT's really good. Like, AEW's really good. Like, some of the stuff we've seen, like Final Battle, was so cool. I really liked watching it. WrestleMania weekend was like the most fun I've had at like going to New York. Like, it was just so much fun. We've done so many cool things, and I don't care that it's wrestling related because it's cool stuff, you know? We've seen some shit stuff, like November Raw. November what, 20-something?
Oh, last year.
No, November 8th Raw?
No, it was like November. It was almost exactly a year ago. I think it was November. I think it was a year ago today. It was the day after Survivor Series, November 26th. Because today's Tuesday as we record.
Wow, okay.
Today's the 1 year anniversary of the worst Raw of 2018.
Wow.
And one of the worst Raws of all time.
We knew that.
I know it now.
But I definitely enjoy watching stuff that you like too, and you've watched stuff that I like. You watch Black Mirror. You've watched
Superstore,
Good
great
Place,
show.
Superstore.
Good Place.
Yeah,
Very good shows.
So I think that's definitely a big part of it too. Is that sharing stuff that you enjoy with the person that you enjoy being around.
And this year alone, we went to New York. We went to Chicago. We went to Boston,
Salem,
New Jersey, Salem. We've been to a lot of different shows. We've been to like almost 15 shows this year. If I go to at least one or two more shows, which we are, I think, at the end of the year, the end Raw, the last Raw of 2019, December 30th Raw, I think if we go to, I mean, we are going to that one.
Yeah.
With that show, I think that would break my own record of the most amount of shows I've been to in 1 year.
And I think a lot of that is because of like both you and I wanting to go. If it was just you, I feel like you wouldn't be as, but if you have someone there like, oh, let's go, then you're more like into it. Not to mention the signatures you get on your belt. Like,
we gotten a lot this year.
Yeah.
Over 20, almost 24 signatures.
I feel like a lot of that is because of me too. Not like, okay, I'm not saying that like, oh my God, pat me on the back. I'm saying like, because you and I are very similar in the sense that we're both very determined to do something. So if I'm very determined to do something like that, I'm going to push you to do it and you're going to get it done. Like we're going to do this together.
We got him at WrestleCon. We got it at the big event. We got it at the, what's it called? Ringside Fest in New York City about a month ago. Earlier this month. Mm-hmm. We went to Dynamite, WrestleMania, G1 Supercard, 2 takeovers. We went to an episode of Raw. We went to a SmackDown. We've been to a lot of different shows, Northeast wrestling shows. We went to Evolve. We've been to a lot of different shows. We have met, I think I met more notable names this year than any other year combined, and that's saying something.
I got to develop someone
Went to Chicago to meet CM Punk.
Yeah, I've got to develop someone I idolize in the past year, which is Johnny Gargano. Like, he's like my favorite person in wrestling ever.
And then we met him.
Yeah, and we met him, and I was like shaking. He gave me like 2 hugs. Candace gave me a hug. Like, it was amazing. I got to meet Walter, who I'm terrified of, and he laughed in my face. He's like, puny human. Mm-hmm. You could kill me, dude.
Walter's amazing.
He's amazing.
Yeah, too bad he's a loser on the main roster.
Fuck off with that.
Their next question: name 3 things that you two disagree on. First thing must be wrestling related.
Ooh.
Second thing must be other pop culture related. Third thing must be casual, real life related. Example: food, clothing, etc. I honestly thought you could just take this one away because I honestly have no idea. I don't really think of this type of stuff.
Well,
wrestling related?
I've noticed, okay, casual, real life related. So first of all, I'm going to start with that one.
I was going to say you're vegetarian. I mean.
Well, yeah, I'm vegetarian, but I mean, I've appreciated chicken. That's really the only meat I've ever eaten. But also, you don't really cook. Not because I'm not throwing you under the, or
that's
at least
something
trying
we disagree on.
But, well, you're someone that's like, I'd rather like.
I'm just going to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm someone like, I love cooking stuff and I like making it my own. So that's kind of stuff that I would say those are like different things that we do instead of disagreeing. Like,
Nothing really we disagree on. I'm trying to think of like, who do you like that I don't? Or vice versa, because I like a lot more people than you do. Alexa Bliss, you're not a big Alexa Bliss fan. I like Alexa
you like
Bliss.
Becky Lynch too.
You don't hate her anymore as much as you once did.
I don't care about her at all.
Probably just Becky Lynch. I honestly have no idea.
No, I like Bailey too. That doesn't make any sense.
Trying to think.
Um,
Honestly, I have no idea.
we're so similar. We're like, what
no
do we
idea.
not like?
I don't know. I really don't know.
That's such a good question.
I haven't sat here and been like, wow, like that was terrible, and you were like, wow, I loved it. It's rare that type of stuff happens. As far as I can think of.
I mean, I would say the most glaring evidence I can see of us disagreeing would be like shows that we watch, not like because I'm more into like Black Mirror and like The Twilight Zone and like stuff like that, or like the movies I watch, and you kind of like comedies, you like Marvel, or you like the older Adam Sandler movies that are like really funny apparently that I've never seen.
How about this? This I don't know about wrestling related. We'll go with wrestling related. That you hate Braun Strowman. I don't mind Braun Strowman. Let's go with that. We'll go with that.
I don't understand.
For the pop culture thing, because you just mentioned it, we'll disagree on the best movie of the year. I say Endgame. You say Joker.
Yeah, Joker hands down was the best movie.
And that was
of the
my
year.
second. But I think that can be something that we disagree on. Because I think Endgame. You say Joker.
Yeah, because you're a huge Marvel fan. I like Marvel. I've always paid attention to it. Ever since it became a thing, really, not since the dawn of time, but since I've been alive and paying attention. And then I'm more of someone that likes. I mean, I guess me and John Ritland probably have a better taste of movies together than you and I would.
Probably.
Like Joker, I just absolutely loved. And it's more of something like coming from someone who went to an acting school, which sounds so stupid and hoity-toity, but excuse that. But I did really what my acting teachers would say, because I just can't get their stuff that they've said out of my head. But they always say watch the actor's eyes if you want to work off of them. So that's just what I did during the entire movie, and I felt like I was him. And that's why I love the movie so much, because I came at it from a different perspective than like you would have. Yeah. Or a lot of other people would have.
Mm-hmm.
But
and then
food is good.
Real life related, no idea.
I mean,
do you like strawberries? I don't like strawberries.
You like McDonald's. I fucking hate McDonald's.
How about this? Love McDonald's, and also you are more into doing Christmas stuff before Thanksgiving than I am. I wait until December 1st.
You want to know a story, Wrestle Rant listeners? So I met this friend from work, and she's so nice, and we were going to plan on, like, okay, I saw this post, and it was like, oh, let's make a gingerbread house with your boyfriend or something. I'm like, that's so cute. Because I did it a couple years ago and I wanted to do it with Graham. So I texted him, or no, I said it to you while we were on the phone.
Yeah.
Because I saw we have him at work. So I said it to him. I'm like, oh my God, we should do like a gingerbread house. This was like 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, this is like earlier. This was the first. When I can't. No, wait.
This was the beginning.
First or the 8th.
It was the beginning of November.
It was some Friday.
And this bitch has the audacity to say to me, unless it's a Mayflower, I'm not building a gingerbread house. Who comes up with that stuff? Like, unless it's a gingerbread Mayflower, who the fuck comes up with that? Mm-hmm. I've already built one gingerbread house, but we're definitely going to do it when December 1st hits in, or kicks in.
Why not?
I cannot believe you said that. I still can't get over how fucking funny that was, because who comes up with that shit?
I just did.
A Mayflower.
Mayflower? Why the hell not?
We're going to learn how to make our own gingerbread and then make a gingerbread Mayflower.
Why the fuck not?
Who says that?
I'm waiting. No Christmas songs for me until Friday. Their next question as we wind down here. Have either of you heard about the controversies regarding Mauro Ranallo and Corey Graves? Yeah, we heard all about it. The guy comes across a complete asshole. I don't know all
Corey Graves
that
does.
Being Corey Graves, that is. I don't know all the details. I don't work there. I don't know them personally. I don't know. So I'm not going to sit here and speculate. But the fact of the matter is, Corey said something, regardless of how you look at it. He said something like, made a very douche statement on Twitter on Saturday during TakeOver about Mauro. Did he bury him? Did he call him terrible? No. He said something he probably should not have said. Would it defend most? Probably not. And Morrow, yeah, he has depression and anxiety and stuff like that. You can call him a baby, whatever. But if a fan says that about him, which I'm sure they have, I'm sure he doesn't really care as much. But when a coworker publicly criticizes you on social media, that's kind of a big problem.
Not to mention a coworker, but someone else who is also a commentator.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just another wrestler. It's a fellow commentator, someone that's on Raw and SmackDown. So he has a pretty big voice.
I thought when I heard that, I'm like, he's one to talk, because their commentary on Raw sucked when it was all three of them, and wherever, like, I don't think he's that good. Everyone talks him up. I don't like him that much as a commentator. I liked the tattoo stuff he does on the network, but I just think he's immature. Like, especially hearing that, like, really, do you have nothing to do? Are you bored or something? You really have to sit there and be an asshole?
Like, who cares, dude?
The guy didn't show up at Survivor Series. Like, I feel bad.
And they deleted his Twitter.
He deleted his Twitter. Like, he definitely seems like a classier person, whereas he's not going to talk about it. He's going to deal with it in his own free time, or maybe talk about it privately with Corey. But he seems a lot classier in the way of handling things. Like, he didn't show up to the show. Maybe that's a little immature or a little stupid, but I mean, we don't know what's going on in his day-to-day life, so we don't know how he's handling it. So I don't know. But I would definitely side with him. Like, he didn't do anything.
No, he didn't do anything at all. So I side with Morrow. I'm Team Morrow. Hopefully he returns to NXT on Wednesday. Best and worst of Wednesday Night Wars and number 8. Well, you didn't see either show, but NXT that overall was great. Cole Dijakovic, very good match. Revival, Undisputed Era, awesome match. Riddle, Ricochet, Becky Lynch, and Rhea Ripley, all very good stuff. Very much enjoyed NXT last week. Great go-home show for the pay-per-views, TakeOver and Survivor Series. Dynamite was also very good. The Jericho Scorpio Sky stuff that we watched at my house on Friday, the back and forth on the mic, and he was talking about his high school sweetheart and all that other shit.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny. Darby Allin and Jon Moxley had a really good match. I'm trying to think what else happened. It wasn't a weak show. I just thought NXT was better. I can't remember. I think maybe was it Pac and Kenny? I think that might be this week. I don't know. I can't really remember much about the show, but what stood out to me was the Jericho and Scorpio Sky segment. Nick Jackson actually faced Ray Phoenix. Yeah. Amazing match. That's well worth checking out too. Both shows that were very good per usual. Best and worst of Survivor Series weekend. We'll get into this in another podcast, probably WrestleRain Radio, but TakeOver was great. Really nothing that stood out about being weak about the show at all. Garza and Isaiah Swerve Scott was kind of sloppy, but it was a fine match.
I love Angel Garza.
Love Angel Garza. Love Isaiah Swerve Scott. And then Survivor Series, only the main event was really disappointing. Nothing else really about that show was like, oh, that was bullshit. Like that was. I mean, Walter's elimination was bullshit. But
that was absolutely bullshit. I'm upset that that's not a bigger deal, because I love that guy. He is so talented. Like, again, I will say this till the day I die. He could kill me and cover it up, and then, like, he could fucking snap my fingers in half and break my whole arm. Like, he is a real life badass. And the fact that someone like that got, I'm not going to say buried, but he got embarrassed in that match, it was just fucking stupid. Like, how do you do that? So that, I would say, is the worst thing that happened on that show, because I will never get over that. That's absolutely ridiculous, and it never should have happened. I don't care. Like, just because he's on NXT UK doesn't mean you should just, like, oh, whatever, who gives a shit. He's a fucking champion. He took it away from someone who was champion for 2 years. He should be a bigger deal. Like, get out with that. But everything else I think was great. Like, the women's 5-on-5-on-5, I really enjoyed. And then the men's 5-on-5-on-5,
was also very good overall.
Aside from certain points like Walter.
And Kevin Owens getting eliminated
Yeah, because it clearly seemed like Vince had the bigger say in that match. We said it multiple times that night. But the end of it, like Keith Lee and Roman Reigns, was amazing. Like, I would watch that again.
Yeah, Ciampa and Rollins. Overall, it was a very good match.
Keith Lee pinning Seth Rollins was really cool, too. Like,
that was
good
huge.
For him.
Yeah, that was great. Dunn and Cole stole the show, I thought. That was the best match in the entire show. Styles, Nakamura, strong, very good match overall. Very much enjoyed that. The tag team matches on the kickoff. Overall, I thought it was a very good show. Again, nothing really to pick apart aside from the main event, which I thought was disappointing. Could have been saved by like a return of Ronda Rousey, but it wasn't meant to be. Finally here, what are your thoughts on Disney in the Disney Plus app? I mean, you're a big Disney girl. I like Disney too, but you're way more Disney than I am. I love
Disney. Yeah, that is another difference between you and I.
That's not a disagreement. It's not
it's not a disagreement, but I think there's more differences.
I'm more wrestling than you are. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah, there's more differences than disagreements. But, okay, Disney Plus, Ironically so, you've seen Disney Plus way more than I have, but I think the whole idea of Disney Plus is really smart because the mention of this like whole like all these old shows that they had on Disney Channel, like when I was a kid, like my prime time watching, they had like That's So Raven was the Waverly Place. They had Mike's Super Short Show.
That's not on there.
Well, I know I'm upset that that's not
Sweet
on
Life
there.
of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
I'm talking about being on the TV when
Sweet
I
Life of
watched.
Zack and Cody.
Yeah, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
And On Deck.
And Sweet Life on Deck.
Phineas
Hannah
and Ferb was on there,
Montana.
Hannah Montana.
Phineas and Ferb. Bleh.
Life
all
with Derek
the-
isn't on there.
Good. I hated that show. But I'm saying like it's so cool that they're capitalizing on this whole meme and this whole idea that people miss the old Disney. So now I can watch the old Disney and not have to feel like, oh, I miss what once was because it's still there. Like, yeah. Disney, the parks wise, we actually haven't gone there in a long time. Like we usually, my family and I, we go every year usually, but the last time we went was the opening of 2018. We went for New Year's Eve 2017 into 2018, I believe. I think. Yeah, because it wouldn't have been 2018 into 2019.
No, when I met you.
No, it was 2017 into 2018, and it was ice cold there. It was literally like 30 degrees, and I could see my breath in the air. Luckily, I brought my winter coat, so the whole time we were there, I wore like this big Disney sweatshirt I had like a t-shirt underneath that, which I just usually wear a sweatshirt because it's uncomfortable, and then I wore like another jacket and a coat, so I had like 3 or 4 layers on. And then I would have like a big thick pair of pants, like 2 pairs of socks, a pair of sneakers. And I wore the same thing every day because I had no winter clothes because I wasn't expecting it to be like that. Mm-hmm. But they've made a lot of changes into the park too. I'm really into keeping up with that stuff because one of my dreams is to work at Pixar one day in California. So I think they're really thriving right now. The one problem is the fact that they're kind of thriving too much. Like they're dominating everything, and it's a little scary because too much of one thing is always a bad thing. Like you should, there's very few things that you can never have too much of, but Disney definitely, like, I feel like there's a time and a place for Disney, and they shouldn't be literally everywhere. Like they need to slow their roll a little bit and realize their place is not everywhere all the time.
I agree. Love Disney. Disney Plus is great too. I'm just keeping it short and sweet because we got to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, love Disney Plus. I love that all the old shows are on there. The movies I've already watched. Poof Point about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Watched the first episode of The Muppet Show from 2015. Very funny as well.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to rewatching probably Boy Meets World at some point. Even Stevens. A lot of good shows on there. Probably going to be watching a movie on Thanksgiving too with my family because they love that shit too. Mm-hmm. One last question that was sent in as we speak right now by @Thomas B_B96. It says Thomas B here, but I know his Twitter handle is. He sent this in minutes ago. If you and your GF are still taking questions for the next video, or no, I guess he might be talking about this for next week, but we might as well answer it now.
Yeah.
What do you think of NXT doing When Worlds Collide instead of TakeOver? It's a nice change. I mean, I'd prefer the TakeOver that weekend, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, as long as we're getting an NXT presence that weekend, I don't really care. They'll be in the city, which means we could get some NXT stars per usual in the Royal Rumble, just saying, in both the men's and women's.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is that if we do not get Undisputed Era versus Imperium, someone deserves to be fired. They're not doing wrestling right in that case.
I agree.
They need to do that match. What else they do, I have no idea. But overall, it's a great concept. Looking forward to it. The other Worlds Collide shows they did last year over Mania Weekend, when we were there, we actually saw a couple tapings at Access. Mm-hmm. They did like Brian Kendrick versus fucking Tyler Bate and stuff like that. Was cool, and they aired it on the network on Wednesdays from that point forward. But it was nothing like must-see. Like, they were good. Like, remember we watched Luke Harper and Dominic Dijakovic?
Yeah.
Like, that was cool. But I think what they're doing with this is more concrete as an actual show before Mania. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a very fun show. But nonetheless, that's going to do it for today's hashtag. Not even recording Wrestle Rant Radio this afternoon. We got to get going. We went an hour and 14 minutes with this episode.
Damn.
One of the longest episodes I've done in many months. I mean, I did one by myself that was that long a couple weeks ago, but other than that, as a two-person show, I'm making your grand return here to hashtag.
I know, I talk a lot.
Well, clearly, I mean, we both talk a lot, but clearly the people love having you on. Hopefully it's not another year before we have you on again. But yeah, before we ride off into the sunset here, what can you plug for the people?
Do you always say that, right off into the sunset?
Not always, but sometimes.
I feel like I've heard that. I don't know. Find me on Twitter if you want, at Lex DiGiacomo.
If you want. Sound like Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
Follow me if you want.
Half
maybe.
thumbs up. I actually, because I got an iPad Pro and I got an Apple Pencil for myself because I want to do, I'm studying graphic design, so if you want to follow me on Instagram, I do all my art on there as well, at Alexis DiGiacomo, DiGiacomo. What? Don't roll your eyes. Yeah, I do a lot of art on there, so feel free to look at it. And I put it on Twitter sometimes. I'm planning on doing one of Johnny Gargano, so I want to do more wrestling portraits so people can look at it and appreciate it. I did do a Bray Wyatt one that was nice, so check it out.
Yeah. And that's going to do it, guys. If you want to send in questions to the show, please do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights or on the wall itself. And last but not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, for Alexis, I am Graham GSM Matthews. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we'll catch your ass down the road.